Oh, that might have been close. Coming to you from Batsman Park in Brampton, New Brunswick taking on Ontario, and Ontario piling on the runs in the first innings. 221 for just 2 wickets Ontario put up, and what an innings it had been from Yuvraj Sarma, bringing up 106 off just 51 deliveries. Ali Nadeem up at the top, the other opening bat 67 off 43 for him, and Jaskran Buttar chipping in with a handy 42 off 17. New Brunswick in reply, 15 for no loss at 3.2 overs. Of course, we did have another game as well at the same time. It was a quick one, Nova Scotia managing just 40 before they were bowled out. And an easy chase for Alberta, chased it down in just 5 overs. This is the Ontario that we're used to seeing attacking and very dominant on the cricket field. Of course, one of the more experienced sides, one of the more experienced provinces in this tournament. It's the National Men's Championships. But the Women's National Championship coming up starting Monday of next week. A total of 10 provinces represented in this tournament. One delivery to come in this Jaskran Buttar second over. Just 4 runs coming off of his 1.5 overs so far. He's been handy with the ball. And the calls for catch it, but it should land safely. And it does go all the way as well. The umpire just waiting to signal whether it's a 4 or 6, getting confirmation now, and it has gone for the maximum. 6 runs to Dinesh Sharma. Well, they've got a tall task here in New Brunswick. The required rate from the get-go, almost 15 runs and over. Shantan Reddy, he is 9 off 16. Dinesh Sharma 3 off 7. They haven't lost a wicket yet, but those strike rates don't get anywhere close to where they should be if they're to try and chase this mammoth total of 240 more. Iran comes into the attack with the ball for Ontario. Ontario, while they have the dominant hand in this game, you'd have to feel they still want to try and wrap this up pretty quick. And the reason for that is if you look at the points table, unfortunately we don't really have the graphic here, but for those of you following, you can download the Cricket Canada app and follow this tournament on there. Ontario is second from the bottom in Group A at the moment, having lost their game yesterday. Lost against Quebec. It was a bit of a shocker for Ontario. Not the first time it's happened though. They had a similar result against Quebec last year. But they're going to want to try and improve on their net run rate. Try and get a big win here to push up forward in Group A. Group B, Saskatchewan sitting at the bottom, 3 games, 2 losses for them. Of course, the first year was a washout, so all those teams have picked up a point each from that washout. But now I'm joined by someone very interesting, Gary Growall, the captain of, the coach of Team Ontario. Also involved with the high performance program here in Ontario. A fellow player. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you. I wish I was the captain of Ontario. Yeah, multiple hats still, but I think a few of them are going to come off next year, and then coaching will be primary. But yeah, thank you for having me here. I hope the viewers enjoyed the fireworks early on in the first innings.
Oh, it was fantastic batting, wasn't it?
Yeah, no. We were lackadaisical yesterday, so we had a real good chat and a bit of introspection that we need to bat with a lot more intent. So I'm glad we could execute that.
So now you're part of Ontario Cricket Academy. You've been part of Ontario Cricket Academy for quite some time. You've seen a lot of these players come up the ranks. Some of them were juniors at one point. How much of an impact have you had recently with the HP program? Well, that's gone high up in the air. There is a fielder getting under 8, and it is an easy catch. And with that, New Brunswick lose their first wicket. It was only a matter of time. They were struggling, the 2 batters, not getting the runs that they desperately needed to get. And Dinesh Sharma, the man to lose his wicket, he falls for 9 runs. New Brunswick 21 for 1 at the end of 5.1.
Yeah, good move there, bringing Sheel Patel on against the wind. Not easy to take him on, even with the guy in the circle. So good call by the skipper there. Good wicket to take.
Well, you're a happy man today, Gary. You lost your first game yesterday.
Yeah, and even today the fat lady hasn't sung yet, so still going to hold my emotions in check. Yeah, regarding your question earlier, I've after I did my level 2, I learned a lot. Just a different way of coaching, a thought process that isn't intuitive to a lot of people. So I tried to really implement that and bring a perspective for the players where I could try to understand them a little bit better and not go with a horses for courses approach. So yeah, I hope that made a difference. I know a lot of younger guys in the junior in the Canada Cup showed a lot more intent and they played with a lot more freedom. My goal was to get away from the old school coaching. That's a major part of my philosophy as a coach, and even working with senior guys, I use a little bit more of that. But then you gotta keep in mind the level they're playing at, the pressures they're dealing with instead of the kids. So just a little tweak here and there, but the idea is still a lot of good communication and let people play and express themselves the way they do, but just with a more controlled approach.
Well, that's a big one, and it looks like it might get comfortably over the fielder's head, and it does. Square leg, or mid-wicket coming around to square leg, giving half an attempt on the boundary, but it was destined to sail over his head. That's a 6 runs maximum. You bring up a very good point, Gary, about coaching philosophies and changing with time. You recently did your level 2 last year, I believe that was now. For those of us who are listening to this and are following, how impactful was that level 2 for you? And why do you think it's important for more people to go down that coaching education pathway?
It was brilliant. It was brilliant because the way we coach, especially with a subcontinental background, is very explicit, and it's very much based on do as I say, and it's hard to implement certain things, and I really believe in the fact that if you don't know why a change is being told, it's very hard to implement that because your brain doesn't really process it, and it goes, oh, he's telling me to do it, but why? And then the other aspect of it is, like I said earlier, right, everyone has a different communication style, everyone learns differently, so we can't just go with that same cookie cutter approach of put some cones, hit the ball, keep your elbow up, keep your head in front of the ball or whatever. And also, like, the game's evolving. What we used to call technique is just one of the techniques now. Hitting the ball, what used to be considered slogging, is now technique. If you saw Butter bat today, that was not slogging. And even when you went across the line, there was a lot of mechanics involved that he works on. I know him, I work a lot with him. Engaging your bottom hand at the right time, and taking the right speed on things like that. So the old school method would say, nope, he's just a slogger. But no, hitting the ball is not slogging anymore. It's power hitting, and it's technical.
Yeah, a lot of it goes into the whole aspect of balance and weight transfer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, weight transfer is just so crucial. A lot of guys trying to hit a big ball will lift their head up early, and the weight falls back, and that comes from engaging your bottom hand too early. So a lot of those things are now things guys at the highest level go and train. They hit the ball, they try to hit sixes, and it's important. And I see a lot of coaches are still not implementing that. There's a sort of taboo in hitting the ball early, or like, when I say early, as in like when you're younger, and I don't know if you've seen the movie 83. There's a scene between India-Zimbabwe game, and I don't know, some Zimbabwe, but he calls Kapil, he's like, he's just a slogger. That was my South African accent, by the way.
We'll work on that one.
Yeah, not my strongest suits, but yeah, it's not slogging. It involves a lot more, and it's good to see that guys are taking that on now, and it's becoming a lot more mainstream to be able to hit the ball consistently and with the right mechanics. And like you said, weight forward, hips engaged, and it's good to see that happening. This kid is a very talented bowler, Aaron. He just missed out on the under 19 spot. I think it was 3 years ago when he was in for World team. Good batter too. Really, really good in the field. Busy cricketer. Swings the new ball. Yeah, let's keep an eye out for him.
Well, he started well. He's into his second over, and that's just the second run that he's given. You know, you bring up a very good point about coaching being as archaic as it is, especially we do see this in Canada a lot. You know, the Southeast Asian background has this general idea of what they think good coaching is, and unfortunately some of those styles have now, you know, they've gone extinct essentially in other parts of the world, and it's something that if we don't now realize and start to implement changes to, well, at the end of 7, New Brunswick 29 for 1. If we don't implement some of those changes now, what's going to start happening is we're going to see our competitors at the highest level leave us well behind. And we're already seeing that. We see a lot of that with the U.S. When the U.S. under-19 team was here, we lost those qualifiers. They went on to play the World Cup. We've seen it at the women's level as well, where the women's national team is, you know, far, far ahead of where we are. And that's just talking about North American terms. Now, if we talk about the rest of the world, we talk about Europe, for example. You know, Canada's just lost 4-0 in an ODI series against the USA and the Netherlands, and the Netherlands has dominated that series. Well, why is that happening? What is it that's changed over there that's not allowed for us to keep up to? And coaching happens to be a big part of that.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't too long ago we were competing with Afghanistan and Ireland, if you remember. We were at par with them. We used to beat them pretty often. And now that's a thing of the past now. Having said that, we beat Ireland in the World Cup, but if you look at a larger data set or a sample set, that's not that doesn't happen too often. And it's essentially the same thing, right? Like they've moved on with the way they train players, the way they bring up homegrown talent. We're blessed that we have such an influx of cricketers coming in that are already set and they're already doing well.
But that's the issue. We cannot rely on the influx of immigration if we're to improve. We have to get homegrown talent. That's a big one, but it's gone straight down into the hands of the fielder in the deep. Just didn't get the distance or the height on that. New Brunswick, they lose their second wicket. 31 for 2.
You live by the sword, you die by the sword. Was the same shot that got him 6 last over. But yeah, going back to your point, exactly, we can't rely on it. But in my honest opinion, I feel the fact that we keep getting so much talent entering the country is not helping us change the way we do things. It's not a bad thing that we have talent coming in, but we cannot let that stagnate the way we approach grassroots cricket or even high performance cricket or even moving our under-19s on to professional cricket.
Yeah, completely agree. And in a way, the influx of immigration has made us lazy in terms of our grassroots development. And for it to be sustainable, we have to start investing in that grassroots development. It helps, you know, that we have started towards it. You know, Ontario having the HP program. A couple of weeks ago, we had our first ever under-19 girls nationals, which we've never had in the past. So taking steps in the right direction, but the bigger picture has to change along with it, and that goes hand in hand with the coaching styles having to change. So when the academies are now caught up is when I think we're going to see real change.
Yeah, for sure. Academy system, and even there's a big push for school cricket as well right now, which I think in my books is more important than academy cricket, because you develop the love for the game when you play in your school. You know, when your PE teacher tells you, okay, we're going to hit some balls today. That's where you fall in love with the game. That's how I fell in love with the game, playing school cricket. And, you know, if you want to get away from the influx of immigrating players and them being the backbone of cricket, school cricket's the way to do it.
Well, he's gone down the ground. There should be another wicket, and it is. This is 2 wickets in the over for Sheel Patel.
Yeah, good running catch, running forward. I hope all the catches I gave earlier helped. My forearm's a little sore.
We'll give you the credit for that one. How about that?
I love to swoop in. Yeah, I was talking to someone maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was in an online forum, and I said this. I was like, unless a white kid decides to pick cricket over hockey in Oakville, um, we will always be relying on guys coming in. It might be a little bit controversial. Manali cannot believe I said that. Her jaws have dropped. But but what I mean to say, but I don't want to say Canadian because
Caucasian.
Caucasian.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, and that will only happen if we naturally introduce cricket to them. I I went to school in New Zealand. I did my high school in New Zealand, and one thing that used to happen is every 3 weeks we used to pick up a different sport, and we were forced to play that sport, whether it was our go-to sport or not. And I grew up in India, and the only sport I played growing up was cricket.
But schools here are similar as well. So I went to school here, and as you mentioned it, you have your gym syllabus where every 3 weeks you're forced to try a different sport. What hasn't happened is cricket has not become part of that curriculum yet.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't help that school's off in the summer when cricket's on. But yeah, I remember playing field hockey in grade 11 in New Zealand. I remember playing rugby. I was garbage at all of them. but
But you got exposed to them, and you don't know
Exactly.
what you might have been good at
Exactly. Yeah.
had you not been exposed.
For sure. And you know what? I might not have been good at it, but I love watching them now. And it makes me think like a coach. Run down to third man. Uh,
That's well played. Nice and fine. They pick up a couple of runs here. New Brunswick, unfortunately, that required rate just too high. Ontario's just piled on a few too many runs here. 19 runs required from here on every over. New Brunswick, you really have to feel that they're in a losing battle here. However, what they can do is still try and get as many runs on the board and try and get that net run rate up.
yeah, again, see, this gets back to that the idea of moving on with the game, because in an old school methodology, New Brunswick would now be saying just bat the 20 overs, don't get all out. It'll look good on paper, but it won't. What will look good on paper is to really try to chase this down and get as many as you can and play your shots, because you never know, someone comes off and then you might still not win the game, but then you have a cricketer who's got a lot of self-belief. But if you go in with this defeatist attitude of saying, let's just play the 20 overs, you're never going to chase it down, you're not getting anything out of the game then.
Yeah, mindset is key.
Yeah.
It's the difference between sending in a batter and saying don't get out versus sending in a batter and saying go well.
Exactly.
Automatically, as soon as you stay away from that negative, it changes a lot of things in your mental approach.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the same, again, we talked about, coaching kids or the communication. That's another good shot. Open the face, down to sweep or cover. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think Jay Patel's the skipper, right? Yeah. He's come in and he's played some really good shots. Again, good approach. Let's see how he kicks on from here, but he's looking very positive. His shot selection is very good. And these were the small wins that provinces like New Brunswick or Nova Scotia need to take from here. They need to learn and they need to go back as a better unit, rather than just come and take a participation medal.
Well, we've seen a big change as well from the eastern provinces. I mean, PEI this morning, they beat Manitoba in an absolute shocker. It just showed who held their nerve better in that game. Low-scoring affair, and Manitoba just didn't have what it took mentally to get them through over the line. On the other side, we just saw Nova Scotia completely fall apart. But that's part of growing and understanding the game. A lot of these eastern provinces, they don't actually have turf wickets. I had a chat with Amit Joshi earlier on. He said we have 3 grounds, the third one just being introduced into their province. Now a whole province just on 3 grounds. You can imagine the lack of infrastructure that they have, and for them to not play on turf wickets, to come here and they get thrown into turf wicket territory, you're not used to playing in spikes. You're not used to batting in spikes. It's a whole other ball game.
It's completely. And that's the other problem in my books is AstroTurfs. They are great to maintain. We get a lot of cricket out of them, but we can be playing top tier cricket on AstroTurfs. I just went on about how techniques have evolved and everything is a technique in its own, and AstroTurf cricket is a technique in its own. It's a lot more bottom hand, a lot more horizontal bat, and you're not gonna, and I've seen kids come up and their technique is Astro technique, and then when they get put into a real world scenario, which is now you have to go play on turf, especially if you're playing on a King City turf, you're exposed on all ends, and it takes a very long time for them to now come out of that mentality, and it doesn't help because if you want to go play a game to get some confidence, that game is on AstroTurf.
Well, for those of you wondering what the difference is between AstroTurf and turf, the AstroTurf makes batting look, well, it is a lot easier than batting on turf. There's additional bounce there.
Yeah.
The ball comes on a lot spongier. You
It
can sit
sits
on that
up,
back foot.
Yeah, it sets up, and same for bowlers. You don't need to really bend your back. You can just come in, float the ball. You'll get nice carry. So all these things are very important.
With 36 for 3 at the end of 10, there's going to be a quick drinks break. We're going to take a break as well. We'll be back with you shortly. Welcome back to the action. New Brunswick taking on Ontario today. Just had a quick drinks break. We're having some good conversation with Gary Growall, the coach of Team Ontario, experienced campaigner in the sport. Been coaching for quite some time now as well.
Yeah, 6-7 years now. I used to do it as a fill-in coach. I would after my training session, just didn't want to go home, so I started helping out the kids. That was 10 years ago. But then I started enjoying it a lot more as I went on, and I've just become very passionate about it. So yeah, And it's funny story how it started, my whole coaching journey.
Where should we wait?
Your sentiments have very little value. You're the girl who cried wolf.
Is it every time I'm at cricket, it is freezing?
It is. It's kind of.
In the summer.
Last year I was around this time, and it was just like this. It was the worst trip of my life.
Well, you can enjoy that.
And then I went home, I broke down on the way back. Good? Good, man. Sorry, it's not working.
Oh, it says excellent connection. Gurjot Gosal has got one delivery to come in this over. It'll be a single to end the 11th. New Brunswick 41. They just picked up 2 runs off of that. 41 for 3 at the end of 11. So somewhere in the words of you wanting to take up more coaching, I've indirectly heard the words that you will be retiring as a player. Or is that an assumption that I have made?
That is an assumption. There's no way I'll say that on record.
But you did say there were bits and pieces that are going to be...
Yeah, what I mean by that is I'll just cut it down. I'll play a lot less. I won't be. I don't plan to captain next year either in S9. It's just my body's not hanging in there anymore. And then kids turning older as well, so multiple hats right now, like I said.
You've got a little one as well.
Yes,
It's tough.
she is 20 months now, and she can climb stairs, so
The trouble's just
life
beginning.
is different right now.
Saib Malhotra comes in for his first over. He starts with a dot ball. Yeah, transitioning through sports and different phases of it is very important. Of course,
Yeah.
you cannot play forever.
Yep. And you gotta stay involved with it. You gotta find different ways to stay involved with it. Some people stay involved with it by just dropping down tiers and playing lower levels of tiers because
Yeah.
they just like to be on the field, and more power to them, and I have a lot of respect for people who do that. For me, it's not something that I get a lot out of. I've always tried to challenge myself and keep working up the tiers. I wasn't someone who started off in S9 and played my whole career in S9. I started off playing lower devs and I worked my way up. So for me, it's like coming back. It's like taking a U-turn now. So I'll just hang it up and try to become a better coach and enjoy the game that way.
Well, calls for one. Stick to just the one.
I'll tell you.
It's- Sorry, go ahead.
I'll tell you a funny story about Sai Malhotra, experienced campaigner, bowling leggies from the north end right now. He played his cricket in India as a fast bowler. Had a couple of injuries and had to. It just, no matter what he tried, it just couldn't bowl the same way. He just couldn't bowl the same way anymore after his comeback from the injury. A lot of it was mental, but the love for the game, he's just remodeled himself into a leg spinner now. The reason I bring that up is it's just something that might inspire a lot of kids who are going through a tough phase, with the bat or the ball. There's cricket's funny. You can do so many things Just need to put your mind to it, and he's an excellent leggy bowler, good over here. So yeah, it's just something to take from senior campaigners in the country.
Yeah, versatility is so important. And this is why, well, they say you should be at least good at two crafts of the three. Fielding being one of the main ones.
The non-negotiable.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Versatility, you just never know.
And one thing, I tell my boys coming, we were talking about the core of our cricket becoming a very immigrant-based. One thing I try to tell all the local boys is try to match the intensity that Butter and Sahib will bring to the game. And Sahib did a crucial run out yesterday, getting Ali Waqas with a direct hit from point, single wicket to aim at. And even today, you can see the intensity that these two senior guys are bringing is something that the rest of the boys are trying to match. So, like we were talking about earlier, Manali, there's a lot you can gain from them, but you can't just rely on them. Use it, but use it well.
Yeah, always have to be personally willing to put in that effort.
Just a little too full in his spell right now, pushing the ball too much. It's not an easy end to bowl from with the wind coming into his face.
It's been a breezy one.
Yeah.
Oftentimes very difficult to control the ball.
That's a better length. He's running without his bat, and he's looking at the ball. Coaching 101.
But he's made it home, and good aggressive running that.
Yeah, that was good. I'll tell you a funny incident. League game. I won't mention divisions or leagues in particular, but a game I was playing. 3 runs to win of the last ball. Ball falls into no man's land. They complete one. They come back for the second. Number 11 dropped his bat. He decided to wait to pick up his bat, and he got run out on a direct hit.
So was it a tied game then?
No.
Having completed 2 runs?
No, the second didn't get completed because he decided to pick up his bat on the
No,
way.
on the second.
You can imagine the drama in the team meeting after. But yeah, I think we all have stories like that.
Well, listen, we saw a very similar situation. No bat involved, of course, but Nepal against South Africa at the World Cup. Heartbreaking. That would have been their first ever major win.
But you know what nobody talks about in that whole incident is class sense awareness. It requires such a brilliant presence of mind to know that it's going to ricochet off it, and then the back flick into the stumps was just unreal. A lot of people would have not judged that deflection that was possible, because if you look at the replay, I think South Africa's Instagram posted it too from a different angle. Klaasen wasn't standing there. He moved in because he expected something to happen like that, and that comes from just playing a lot of cricket. I won't be surprised if he's been in a similar situation before. And that's one thing we miss, right? We don't play as much cricket. The season's too small. And these other countries, they play just a lot more games. I feel like what our 20-year-olds play in test playing countries, 15-year-olds have played that much cricket.
Yeah, you're right. The level that we're playing at here is vastly different from the level that New Zealand or Australia, South Africa, England are playing at. I mean, you said you've played some cricket in New Zealand. I had the opportunity to play some cricket in Australia, and we've seen and experienced the difference in levels of cricket.
Yeah.
And that goes from every aspect of the game, not just the cricket itself, but the facilities, the training, the coaching, the equipment. It all comes into that whole package of development.
Professionalism. You could be playing second tier, third tier club cricket, but you'll see a level of professionalism in those countries because they all aspire to play higher level. When it comes, you gotta, that whole statement of fake it till you make it.
Sahib Malhotra continuing the attack. That's big stride in from Shanthan Reddy.
Great pace. I just love the pace how he bowls at. He's not a big turner of the ball, but he just varies his pace so well.
He's got some height as well.
Yeah, a lot of top spin on the ball. It kicks.
Excellent stuff for a spinner, having that additional height, getting that turn, that dip,
Yeah.
and then the bounce, of course.
Yeah, very very classical action. Gets really side on, gets his hands over the top. A lot of revs on the ball.
That's some good running. Good awareness on that occasion, and the awareness continues.
Again,
The fielder was further back. There was no one backing up closer than the fielder at mid-on, and it was a good call.
and again, this we were talking about the whole Klassen thing, right? That's what I mean when I say awareness. Long on needs to know there's nobody backing up, so our long on fielder should have been sprinting in right there. That comes from experience. You play a lot more cricket, you learn that you need to do that.
Well, that's another one. New Brunswick, they lose their fourth wicket, 49 for 4. Correction, 51 for 4.
Great change of pace. Pushed that one through. Batsman goes on the back foot and gets trapped. I think that was the straighter one. Wicket for Sahib.
Well, we're in day 3 of these national championships. We've got 10 provinces represented from across the country. Another 2 games to follow after this game is done. So a lot of action. And then we've got 2 more full days to come after this, Thursday and Friday, before we take a short break over the weekend. And we're back with more action where the women come in and they play the nationals as well. Gurveer Singh comes out to bat for New Brunswick. New Brunswick just losing the wicket of Sahib. Correction, just losing the wicket of Shanthan Reddy. 23 off 48 for him. Again, just not the strike rate that you want to be going at when you're chasing a total such as this. But totals aside, you'd have to feel they're well out of this game. They still need 204 runs off just 36 deliveries.
The wind's really picked up and it's going from sweeper to mid wicket, and it's an offie bowling, so it's a really good challenge for Gurjot to bowl in this challenging wind. It's last thing an offie wants is wind going in this direction. No drift, ball could be dragged down, and the mid wicket arc opens up. Lucky for him, it's a lefty on strike.
Well, there's one more game after this, and the temperatures are dipping. It's getting colder, it's getting breezier. And it's really difficult fielding in those conditions. It's also very difficult bowling as a spinner in those conditions. Your fingers are a bit stiff. You can't quite get the release of the ball. You can't get those revs on the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Even for fast bowlers to run against the wind, it's not easy. Part of the reason we've been trying to use every window to take skiers is we want to get used to the wind. We want to see how much the ball is getting pulled by the wind. So, we've made it a priority for the tournament that we're going to take as many skiers as we can before we go into field. The wind's also changing directions a little bit, so you have to keep your eye on it. Like if it's just tilted on its axis a little bit, like it's done today. Like early on, the wind was going fine leg too long off from this end, and now it's just really tilted.
Oh, chipping down the ground. Oh, just getting it past the fielder. Short extra cover. He would have had his heart in his mouth. They pick up 2 quick runs though. Slightly sloppy for me. The fielder going for the dive, nowhere close to it, and then took an eternity to get back up, allowing for 2 runs.
Yeah, he's a unit, and I'll give him benefit of the doubt. He batted 20 overs and scored 100. But we're playing again tomorrow, and the level needs to go up. So, making some mental notes for my post game.
Is he playing with a toque on?
Yes, he is. He's also wearing 2 layers of heat gear underneath.
Which doesn't get much more Canadian than that. Playing with a toque on in August.
Yeah, exactly.
54 for 4 at the end of 15. 201 runs required off 30 balls. You know you're out of the contest.
Is
You
it
still
over
want to try and
36?
finish.
Is it over 36 run rate?
Yes, it is 40 runs and over required. So not 6 sixes won't do it at this point and over.
Some no balls?
It's your team. Why don't you tell me?
Hey, I'm just trying to keep people engaged here. Good hit.
Well, it looks like the game behind us has started early as well. They weren't supposed to start for another... Yeah, we'll have an update for you on the game behind us that's just started. Saskatchewan taking on Newfoundland on the ground behind us. Sorry, correction. Quebec taking on Manitoba on the ground behind us. Well, 56 for 4 is what New Brunswick is on. Ontario's picked up 4 wickets of this side. You being the coach of Ontario, would you have backed your team to pick up a few more wickets than this?
Yeah, it goes back to the same thing. There needs to be intent from the batting side, right? Like when you're playing a 20 overs on a flat wicket, getting wickets is hard when there's no intent. But they've been tight, and I'm happy with the effort, and they've been intense. So we'll check off those boxes that we wanted to. We wanted to get them all out. But yeah, that's better from number 9. Just trying to have a go at it. Always have a go at it.
Got another game on this ground starting right after this one's done. It's a lot of action in a short amount of time. This tests fitness as well. When you're playing back-to-back games, so 2 games a day, and quite a lot of games in a short span of just 5 days, especially in the cold, that really makes it difficult. Your recovery really struggles.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not easy. It's really not easy when you're playing day after day, and T20 cricket is so intense. People don't, it's counterintuitive because you think, oh, it's 20 overs. You could manage 20 overs, but you put a lot of effort in those 20 overs.
Yeah, the level of intensity is just so different. You're going every ball.
Yeah, the lull periods are a lot smaller. There's bowled him. Stepped out a little too early. Bowler pushed the line back the length back a little bit, and went through the gate. Good stuff. Again, a challenging end for Offie to bowl from. So he's doing a really commendable job. Very impressive from Gurjot Gosal.
$58 for 5, New Brunswick. They're going through the batting card here slowly. Ontario picked up 5 wickets. Still have 3.5 overs to come in this innings. And Gurveer Singh, he manages just 3 runs off 10 deliveries that he faced. But that was well bowled. Gurjot Gosal now part of the wicket takers. in his final over of his spell.
I would really like to see Jay Patel really have a crack at this. Not saying to score a do a butter that, but just take the bowling on a little bit here. Farm the strike. I would like to see him farm the strike a little bit. Try to even go 10 and over, 11 and over. I think that'll be a really good learning curve for these boys. And he's a good enough player. I feel like he can do that. But I mean, not sure about the game plan, but I would like to see that. I would like to see the skipper go in there and really show some intent.
Yeah, intent, that's the word. And they're going 10 off 17 right now, Jay Patel. He's a skipper of the side as well. He wants to try and set that tone. That's high up in the air. It will land in the middle of nowhere. Fielder's well outside on the ropes.
We were talking about weight forward, head in a good position. That's something that was lacking in that stroke right there. His head was up, he was standing tall, and he tried to go long off and didn't get enough of it.
Richard Bossart, the new player out in the middle.
So what's on the plate for you, Manali? More commentary, more facilitating?
Quite busy, yeah, coming up to the next few weeks. Well, using his feet, trying to come down the ground, and this time he gets the distance, but only to find the hands of the fielder in the deep. An easy catch for long off. And New Brunswick now lose their 6th wicket, 60 for 6 at the end of 17.
But that's okay. Honestly, I think that's okay. At least, they're playing positive cricket. It's better than just hanging around there. I might get a lot of slack for that, but at least the intent's there. It's so important to go down swinging.
Yeah, you still got to give it 100%, all the way down to the wire.
Yeah, exactly.
And just going back to your question, what's next? We've got the Women's Nationals coming up.
Right.
And then I head on to Alberta for the Alberta Big Bash. Come right back straight into the high performance games. We have those for 3 days in September. And then with a week off before the Oman Nepal Canada series starts, and that's with the ODIs and the T20s right after. And at the moment, November is free, but in December I'm supposed to be doing the Americas qualifiers, and in Argentina I believe they are. So 2 weeks gone over there.
I'll send my condolences to Trevin. Sorry, buddy. I feel bad for you.
Oh, nearly. It was a good effort by the wicketkeeper. Just past, just outside his reach. Rishabh Rajput, the new player, out in the middle. It's busy though. I believe we're probably going to be having a level 1 coaching course in Ontario sometime in September. That may change depending on how well the scheduling works out between all the action happening. There's a lot of cricket around, and I'm happy to see that the number of coaching courses that we have, we've run across the board. We've seen good coaches come through them. You were part of a level 2 batch last year, where you're hoping to have a few more level 2 courses this winter as well.
Yeah, definitely. I see a lot more coaches, and I love the interest. Everyone wants to go grab that level 1 that's being offered, and it's a great initiative by everyone involved to keep pumping these level 1 courses out, because we need to increase the number of qualified coaches.
Yeah, qualified is one thing, and then the other thing is also the 2 days that you spend investing. You're investing in your knowledge as a coach. And oftentimes people come there expecting to learn cricket, but you're not coming there to learn cricket. You know cricket before you walk into those doors. You're walking in to learn how to coach cricket. And that's a whole different ballgame, and that's where the mentality has to change. And the courses that we have run, the coaches who have come through, we have seen some positive change, and I think that's a win in itself, because even if they pick up on a couple of new concepts, it means that we've started the momentum towards positive change.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like we were talking about earlier, we got to start. We got to start at grassroots. We develop grassroots coaches. We'll get grassroots programs going, and it's we'll hopefully have a snowball effect from there. So Alberta T20, that's what made me raise my eyebrow. So production level with commentators flying in from Ontario. That's good to see.
It's just Ontario.
We're a big country, Manali.
just me specifically.
Just the only one from Ontario. I think these bash tournaments that happen around the country it's a really good addition. I would like to see them happen on turf though. Again, going back to the same thing, Astro cricket's different, and there's a lot of talk about I had such a good big bash and still not being looked at. Well, it happened on an AstroTurf. So, and I think that's the next step for the associations, for BC or Alberta or whoever's doing it, to try to make it happen on turf, and I think they'll hold a lot more value. Bowled him, back of the hand, slower ball from Aaron. He's been working on it. I don't know, it's one of his go-to balls. Good to see him execute it.
Well, that's another one for New Brunswick. 61 for 7 now. Well, Ontario have been all over this game. They've had a cracker of a game, and this is definitely going to help their net run rate.
Off the field as well. Our president showing off kids who are trying to talk to the players. I love the intensity. That's been the go-to word today.
Well, listen, I think you got to get used to having that banter from the sidelines. We should add that to growing with the game.
Shouldn't be from your cousin though.
Are they related?
Yeah.
Playing for different provinces, the rivals here.
Erin going to the Yorker, well kept by a noob. They're trying to steal a wicket here. The batsman walked out before the ball was called dead, and the Pars triggered him. Oh, this is a hard one to take, considering the situation. I hear the vice captain saying take the appeal back. I got really good ears for me to hear that from here. Nope. Skipper decides not to take it back, and he's walking off. Some words being exchanged as well. Yeah, this is a tough one now, right? There's going to be questions asked because the game is not going anywhere. But if you do that in a semi-final, that's very well allowed, right? Or no one's going to bat an eye on it.
See, and this is my understanding. If it's within the laws of the game, then legally it's within the laws of the game. There is the whole other side of, is it within the spirit of the game? And like you said, semi-final, you somehow feel the spirit of the game is going to take a bit of a back-end seat?
Yeah, I'll give you my honest opinion on dismissals like that. Stay in your crease. I'll give you a good example of that. If a bowler bowls a no ball and his heel's just on the line and he gets the batsman out, umpire calls no ball, no one says anything. Oh,
No,
well, you
absolutely.
overstepped.
I could not agree with you more. I mean, if the bowler doesn't get that leeway, even if it is a centimeter over that line, then there's no reason why the batter should be given the benefit of the doubt. And not just that, let's face it, it's a difficult game for bowlers.
I was just thinking that. I was like, it's already so heavily leaning in favor of the bats. Bats keep getting bigger. No one's making the ball smaller and lighter.
Manu Chaudhry, the new batter out in the middle, and that's not the most convincing of shots to have started off with.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the rule where you've allowed one bounce in a T20.
Yeah,
Now
exactly.
you tell the batter you can only hit the ball through the covers once in an over.
Yeah. Or everything down the leg is a wide. Why? Every time the ball is down the leg, a batter has a full swing at the ball because they're like, well, if it's a wide, if I don't connect, and if I connect, there's only 2 fielders allowed behind square on the leg side. Very small margins of error for the bowlers.
Well, 194 runs required of 7. That equation isn't going to get any better. As we end with a dot ball, 19 overs in, New Brunswick 61 for 8. We've got one final over to come before Ontario can claim this game. And as I'd mentioned earlier, there is another game on this ground after this one, after the current game is completed. While behind us, the last game of the day has already commenced. That game, Quebec-Manitoba. Quebec is batting first. They're 33 for no loss at the end of 4 overs.
Yeah. It's funny, the weather's getting slightly better right now. It's gotten a little warmer. Manali's like, what's Gary smoking? I honestly feel it's getting a little warm. It's becoming balmy. If
You know what it is? I think it's the adrenaline that's kicking in you because you know you're about to celebrate a win as a coach. But believe me, it's not getting any warmer. Well, that's a big swing and a miss.
Big Quick's back into the action, coming from his favorite north end, bowling hard lengths.
So Jaskaran Butter, because I've been calling him Buttar.
Butter.
I think I like it better the way I've been saying it, but I'll have to ask him. what his
President calls him
opinion-
butter. Yeah, butter.
Well, he's a funny guy,
He's
very down to
hilarious.
earth, very talented as well as a cricketer. And I don't think I'm ever going to be able to forget that conversation that I had with him when he told me he has absolutely no other skills.
Brutally honest. And I'll tell you
Butter
this.
is brutally honest.
He is. He really is. He's the heart of the team. He's the voice of the team. He just galvanizes the boys.
Part of the GT20 as well recently.
Yep, second year.
Played for the Mississauga Panthers 2 years ago. Montreal Tigers this time around, replacement for Kaleem Sana.
Played IPL for Deccan Chargers. Played for 2 states in India. He's got 2 different Ranji Trophy caps.
Just the competition in India is
It's incredible.
ridiculous, and you have so many talented players who are never going to get a chance at the top level. And we've seen in recent times, a number of them have made the move to the US, Unmuk Chand being one of them,
Smith Patel.
trying to get those opportunities elsewhere where they know they still have the talent, they have the ability, but they're never going to get the chance in India because of sheer volume. They just have so many talented players there.
I don't know if you know, Delhi Premier League's just starting. It's a state level T20 comp that they've just initiated, and an 18-year-old kid hit 9 sixes in 9 balls in Firozshah Kotla or Jetli Stadium now. It's not an easy feat. I don't think I've hit 9 sixes in a range hitting session. I was never a big hitter, but still.
I think that's why you're behind the comms here.
Exactly. And that's what I meant when I said I'm taking off some hats.
Listen, I shouldn't be bullying you behind the comms. This is
You
It's
were
great to
no
have you on
were
air.
no Harmanpreet Kaur either, Monali. I have seen you play.
Listen, I'm an angel on the field. An angel with horns.
Putter going for the Yorker on the wicket, and think that's the game.
That is the game. Final delivery. New Brunswick 62 for 8 is all they manage off their 20. And this is a massive win for Ontario. We're going to let you go, Gary. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you got to go back and congratulate your team. They've done extremely well today, and you must be proud of them.
Yeah, no, a good comeback. We wanted to leave a mark, and I think we've done that. But long way to go. We'll take it a game at a time. Thank you for having me. I'll try to swing by later.
Well, that's it from us at this game. Ontario have won by a margin of 192 runs. Some great performances with the bat. Ali Nadeem at the top for Ontario, 67 off 43 for him. Yuvraj Samra bringing up a century, 106 off just 51 deliveries. And Jaskaran Buttar, 69 off 23 for him. Not much to say in the bowling effort for New Brunswick. Unfortunately, they went for quite a few, all of them. And then they're batting. Shantan Reddy, double digits for him, 23 off 48, and Jay Patel, the only other batter to get into double digits, 11 off 22 for him. The bowling, though, for Ontario, incredible. Everyone bowling at respectable economy rates. Here on pick of the bowlers there, 4 overs, 2 maidens, just 6 runs, and he picked up 2 wickets as well. Sheel Patel picking up 3 wickets, very tidy as well. And Gurjot Gosal, 2 wickets to him. Malhotra chipping in with 1. We're going to take a short break before we come back with the last game of the day on this ground. Please don't go far, as we'll return quickly.